Hey, I'm Dan Frischberg. You know, every once in a while, life changes, and big changes mean opportunity. The end of COVID is bringing on the biggest opportunities I've seen in my lifetime. Your lifetime, too. Now, millions of Americans are not paying attention. They're not thinking about opportunity. They just can't wait to go to restaurants and theme parks and go back to the mall. Most people are going to miss this opportunity and their lives are just going to go on like before. I always wondered, why do some people take advantage of opportunities while everybody around them just misses out? And this is a perfect example. How Texas became one of the richest places on earth. I want to tell you this story because it's the same as now. Some people change their lives and their families' lives forever, and everybody else just stays the same. Now, Humble, it's really pronounced Humble, but it's a little area up by the airport in Houston, Texas. Back in 1887, a guy named James Slaughter was an amateur geologist, and he noticed oil bubbles coming to the surface of the San Jacinto River. Now, at that time, they had just recently invented the gasoline engine, so oil was becoming very valuable. James thought that meant there was oil there, but he didn't really have the money. He was always afraid if he showed somebody where the oil was, he'd get left out of the deal. Once they knew where it was, he figured, what'd they need him for? Now, you know, it's still the way they do business in most countries. They lie about their profits, they screw each other. In Mexico or China, you got to eat lunch with somebody for a year before you decide if you can trust them. So James never could make the deal. He didn't understand the great thing about business in America. You see, we have systems and they're supported here. It's the organizational genius of the United States. In a public company here, if you lie about your results, you go to jail. We enforce contracts. Bernie Madoff was actually an SEC officer, and he ended up dying in prison for fraud. Now, Slaughter just didn't know how to do the deal. Cut to 14 years later. You're seeing a picture of Spindletop. That was the first real gusher in the Texas oil boom. It was in Beaumont in a salt dome. Now, it turns out James Slaughter was exactly right. Humble had a salt dome just like Beaumont. So when they found oil in Beaumont, the land in Humble went from $16 an acre to $250,000 an acre. That's like millions an acre now. And nobody around there had the money to buy that land and drill. Finally, somebody who knew what they were doing showed up. It took until 1911, believe it or not, and it wasn't all about oil. It was understanding how to do business like an American. This guy, Walter Fondren, and his stepbrothers, the Sterlings, figured out the loophole that made them rich. They traded shares of their new oil drilling company to the landowners for the exclusive rights to drill on the land. An option to drill on the land. Then once they had those exclusive rights, they could sell shares in their company to get the money to drill. And everybody involved got rich. H.L. Hunt Jr. from Fort Worth heard about all this, and he traded his poker winnings for oil rights to most of the East Texas oil fields. And that turned out to be one of the world's largest oil deposits. Hunt became one of the richest guys in the world. Now, I learned about the Hunts from Fort Worth in 1980 when they tried to corner the silver market. They didn't make it and they lost billions, but they're still one of the richest families in the world. These deals can only work in a place where we have the systems in place to enforce the rules, and that is the genius of America. So now you have the background. In the next chapter, I'm going to show you what I think is the best real estate deal in the world right now, especially if you aren't a billionaire yet. This same loophole that I just showed you can help you own a big piece of that deal. Here's how to find out everything you need to know to do this for yourself.